You ever wonder why we play Dreidel on Hanukkah? That little, spinning top. Some of them are smaller. Some of them may be a little bit bigger. But why do we spin the Dreidel? What's the purpose of spinning the Dreidel on Hanukkah? So we understand that the Greeks ruled over the Holy Land. Greeks, the world power, at that time. And there are a lot of things that they didn't want the Jewish people to do. Right? Many Jewish practices, circumcision, observing the Sabbath, right? Observing Shabbos. They didn't want people to learn Torah. So with an unbelievable amount of self-sacrifice, or what we call Mesiras Nefesh, what would Jewish children do? They would hide in caves. Why would they hide in caves? To learn Torah. Right? They wanted to learn Torah. Torah, is what's passed on to the next generation. You got to live it. You got to believe in it. Etc. So they would see a Greek patrol come around. What would they do? They'd hide their scrolls that they were learning from, and they would take out spinning dreidels, right? And they would spin their dreidels, and play a game. So they would say, "Oh, this kid's just playing the game, right? They're not learning Torah. They're not doing, anything, they're not doing anything forbidden." But it's a little bit more, a little bit deeper, idea of what the dreidel represents. The dreidel is 4 letters. There are 4 Hebrew letters on each side. All right. So the 4 letters are a nun, a gimel, a hey, and a shin. Now, what words do we understand from these letters? The acronym is Nes Gadol Hayasham, i.e., a great miracle occurred there. But there are other important things that the dreidel represents as well. The dreidel can represent the 4 kingdoms, right? The Maharal, famous Maharal of Prague, Rabbi Yehuda Loew, lived in the 17th century. And what does he explain? So he says that a person has 4 spiritual elements. One is the body, i.e. the guf, what we call the guf, the body. Person has a nefesh, a soul. He has an intellect, seichel, and one that includes and encompasses them all, and that we call hakol. So it goes further that these 4 can also represent Jewish exiles, right? Jewish exiles divided into 4 kingdoms that they exiled the Jewish people. You got Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome. And each of these kingdoms attacked the Jewish people in a very unique way, right? Very different way. But at the end of the day, the Jewish people still are here, even within all these exiles. So the Babylonians, what do? They attacked the soul. They attacked the nefesh, right? They destroyed the temple. They stopped the daily offerings. And what is that connected to? It's an uplift of what? Of the soul. Why? Because it says, and if a soul, a nefesh, brings an offering, right? Essentially, a soul brings an offering, right? And that is Leviticus chapter 2, verse 1, right? So the soul, right, gets uplifted by bringing this offering. So now you have the Persians. And what did the Persian Empire do? They attacked the guf, the body. As we see by the Purim story, Haman, Mr. Haman himself, what does he try and do? Tries to kill the entire nation. So that is the Persian Empire. Then you get the Greeks, right? The Greek Empire had unbelievable amount of the world's greatest philosophers. But what do? They wanted to show, beyond the shadow of a doubt, there was incompatibility of the Torah with intellect, with the seichel, right? The person's intellect. So the last exile is Roman exile. Now the Roman exile, what happens? They destroyed the Second Temple, and they used all the other things that the other exiles used. Right? They attacked the Jewish body, they attacked the soul, they attacked the intellect, because they wanted to delegitimize the Torah in Judaism. And what do we call that? What do we call that in Hebrew? Hakol. Hakol means all. It's all inclusive. Right, so the Bnei Yisachar, written by Rav Tzvi Melech Shapiro in the 18th century, or actually 19th century, he says a very interesting thing. There's a deep meaning of what the dreidel is. The gimel of the dreidel stands for guf, the Jewish body, i.e., what we said before, Persia. The nun, what does it stand for? The Jewish soul, nun nefesh, right? Babylon. The shin, what does it stand for? Seichel, the Jewish intellect, i.e., Greece. And the hay, what does it stand for? Hakol. That's all inclusive, i.e., Rome. So each kingdom, very interesting, each kingdom is depicted on a different side of the dreidel. Now, what does that do? That represents that we're surrounded on all sides. Doesn't sound very good, right? We're surrounded by our enemies on all sides. So a person, we can all be negative. What does negativity bring? It's unity. And then you're going to see the nations of the world, right? That they're going to see the unity of the Jewish people, because the verse tells us, I'll turn the people to pure language. They may all call upon the name of the Lord to serve him with one consent. Right? That is the Fanya. Anyone wants to look it up? It's Fanya chapter 3, verse 9. Now, another thing we'll see by the dreidel, the Bnei Yisachar says that if you add up the numerical value of the letters of the dreidel, you get 358. Right? Each letter we call gematria. Each letter has a numerical value. So the word dreidel comes out to 358. Nun is 50, Gimel is 3, Hey is 5, Shin is 300. Do the math. I was very good at this. 358. This is the same numerical value of the word nachash. Interesting. The word serpent. Right? The word nachash, Nun is 50, and Chet is 8, so you get 58. And Shin, right? Shin is how much? 300. That refers to what? The snake that seduced Eve to sin in the Garden of Eden. Now, very interesting. It's also the same gematria as Mashiach. Right? Mem, Shin, Yud, Ches. Mem is 40. Shin is 300. Yud is 10. And Chet is 8. Right? 358. So what does the dreidel represent? It represents the idea that the serpent, the snake, which the sages tell us, means evil inclination, right? The angel of death, negativity, essentially negativity, in exile throughout the generations. But that's going to be transformed into what? It's going to be transformed into the coming of the Messiah, right? Amazing few ideas about what the dreidel represents.